Hi there. We hear a lot in this modern life, modern society, the word "I like a challenge." You hear it a lot. I like a challenge. I think this word is coming from the United States. But since we are followers, we repeat it, a challenge. And why the person likes the challenge, I don't know. People long time ago in a previous, I'm talking about, person trying to avoid troubles, and he's looking for a trouble. Well, a challenge is not a trouble. A challenge is just, a challenge. I like some challenges, Okay, so you hear this a lot. Why human being wants the challenge? What is a challenge to begin with? A challenge is, there's a force, I need another force. Hand wrestling. I'm going to give just a concrete example. Hand wrestling is force des bras. I like a challenge. Am I going to be happy if I am a loser? I don't think so. I'll be happy to knock him down. Why? Because I want to. Now, we speak about the challenge. Deeply, I am generating an audience. It's like a judge, a spectator to validate the winner. And I am choosing a gladiatorial arena. It's a place where I'm going to prove myself, and then I'll be happy, of course, obviously, if the challengers that I am or I created initially within the state of my subconscious, I created him in order to prove myself, and I gain after that celebrity status, or I'll be validated by the judge. Now, who is the judge? Who is the judge? There's no judge. The judge is inside me. I generate a judge, which is my own spectator. The ego is spectator, and me, I'm a performer. So it is the opposite. Instead of the conscience that's direct, and then the unconscious is as a subservient. Here, no. It's the opposite. The conscience is le moi, the me, the I, is subservient, and the ego is the spectator, or is the one that's going to validate me. In other words, I want you to want me this way. That's weird, very strange. I want you to want me this way, and I want you to validate me. This is what's going on. It's something is a little bit deep, but we try to maybe, why a person is constantly looking, and he say, because he wants to win a debate, he wants to win an argument. This is when it comes to just a verbal conversation, of course, conversation. So it's a dialogue. When in fact, person, he is constantly, in order for me to feel happy, we have to have someone where I can improve myself. Someone comes to you, tells you, there is a whole civilization, supposedly, between brackets, built based on this, which is the United States. In 200 years, look what they did. But the thing is, the challenge, what is it? What does the challenge? You develop something extrinsic. You don't benefit from it. You develop an extrinsic force that won't be yours. In a physical world, you develop a world to show off with. The same thing you want to show off with your biceps. The same thing you want to win an argument. The same thing you want. It's like your research, your work, all what you're doing is based on an existence of deep in your subconscious, on a challenger that you created yourself. If someone's going to tell you, you did it. Now, why this challenge is in a human being? Again, to prove himself, to validate himself, and then how does it comes to life. It comes to visibility. It is epitomized. How? It all depends on you. If you want this self-aggrandizement in a person, it reaches certain climax. You know, we say either you have to act before it's too late, or if you leave it then above that, it's going to create insecurity. Look at this. You see, it goes from the valley to the slope and then to the climax of the top of the mountain. If at the time of the slope, you don't act, the force, if a force of money, you know, a money itself can ruin you. You see, in religion, they tell you give charity. You know, the certain, like in Arabic, like in, like say, it's purification. They call it zakat. It will, if it goes above that, it's going to create insecurity. Here, you won't be satisfied unless there is a challenger. You want to knock him down. You're going to be looking for him. Proud. There's nothing wrong being proud of something. Something is you give credit. Here is state of renunciation. Say, thank God he's giving me this. You don't live to defy. You know, to defy a challenger. This is the case of the kid in the United States is raised this way. See, these days was going a mass shooting. A person is looking, he couldn't find, he has to shoot. Take like a shotgun and shooting people every day, every week. Some of them officially, they tell you, sometimes a lot happen, you know, they don't tell you exactly. Well, anyway, that's something is feel proud, self-aggrandizement with your physiognomy. You're looking for someone like that to put him down in order to, let's just face it. You know, I develop something, for instance, in terms like, I don't know, in computer, whatever. Do you think I like someone to be a challenger with me? To challenge me in this? Of course I don't like. I like to the monopoly. I like to monopolize everything. You understand my point? It's like this. So anyway, a challenger is existing already within you, which is a healthy challenger. Why you have to look for a challenger? When we say a challenger, there are forces inside the human being that if he pays close attention to these forces, they are all the time against his desires, but they are healthy. Against his, for instance, you know, against his desires, they are all the time is like sometimes. So they are existing, these forces. If you pay close attention, as I say, to these forces, you will develop what is intrinsic instead of developing something extrinsic. Extrinsic is not yours, it's not part of you. You're developing within the self, you're developing a second existence. Call it second personality, call it a double personality, call it, you know, they talk in psychology, split personality disorder, whatever. What are you talking about? Because a person is behaving differently. It's just they want to give a name, otherwise everybody is like he wants, you know, he is like this without realizing. The only thing is the severity that is different from one person to another. Anyway, the forces, you have forces like of obligation, you have the psychic forces of obligations, you have psychic forces of prohibitions. These are intuitively existing within human being. If God asks you to do, He asks you not to trespass. Okay, so this is something, there's a desire that is dragging me. Do your best. We understand sometimes it's impossible, but at least this is, you know, what is the challenge is I do and I come back and I repent. It's a sin and I repent, I come back. All of these are forces. It's like you say, the free weight falls and then I try and I feel force, but in a long run you are developing biceps, you are developing deltoid, pectorals, keep going. So these forces of prohibition, you know, prohibition, this force is force of abstention. Creator asks you to do certain things. Sometimes the time you don't like, these forces of obtention. Prohibition, obtention, there is a force of levitation, you contradict it. There is a force of attraction and you try to contradict it. All of these are psychic forces. They are part of your intuition you are developing. They are existing. Why you have to create a challenger? Now, do you see all these sicknesses today that are existing in human forces? You know, the backache. All people are suffering from their back. All people are suffering from insomnia. What is this? What is insomnia? You know, the muscle, when you have a muscle spasm in your muscle, spasm is the muscle is contracted against your will. You're not contracting it. You try to relax, you can't. And it's very painful in any muscles in the body. There is a mental spasm. In other words, the nerves are contracted against your will. You try to relax. The insomnia is this. Insomnia, you try to sleep. I'm tired, exhausted. You try to sleep and you cannot. You try to relax. It's contracted against your will. And consciously and voluntarily, but you were responsible of something when you were conscious and voluntarily did something, even though you did it without paying attention to the consequences or the repercussions. So this is what I'm giving this example of insomnia, saying the back pain, you say the nerves that are coming from the spine, coming from the nervous system, talking about it's kind of like contracting something. And then do you think the kidney, those kind of like a massage, it helps you that moment? Do you think the pills that are relaxing the body, they help you when you take them? You know, the nerves are contracted and you drink those sleeping pills. It's an artificial sleep. It's not. The nerves didn't relax. You wake up in the morning very tired. This is testimony of people. I didn't experience it. I experienced it with caffeine. But I used to drink a lot. I don't drink caffeine. When I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't drink anything. But anyway, say, sometimes, changing a topic a little bit, it's not our topic about insomnia. Sometimes people say, I drink a coffee and I sleep. I don't have problem with that. No, it doesn't affect me. What slept is the habit, not you. If you have the habit to sleep at 11 o'clock at night, you will sleep. Because the habit is a second nature. But you didn't sleep deeply. You wake up in the morning, it's like you left the key in the ignition and you left the AC on or your flash, you know, the headlight on, whatever. So the battery is losing energy. Something is consuming the energy. When you start this morning, you come to start your car, you can't start it. The battery is dead. The same thing with, you sleep with the caffeine inside, the nicotine, caffeine, nicotine, all these stimulants that affect the nervous system. Your nervous system is like this, you feel it. At night, you close your eyes are closed, but you don't relax. You don't have that deep sleep that when you wake up, you don't know where you are. That's, you know. So anyway, our topic is not about the insomnia, about the nerves are contracted against your will. As a guest, as I said earlier, about creating a challenger. You have a pair of 12 nerves that they come down from the nervous system. 12 nerves. You know, there are 12 nerves, they trigger muscle contraction. There are other 12, they trigger muscle relaxation. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. This is autonomous. They are central CNS, central nervous system. They are involuntarily. By themselves, they do this. It's like the lungs, they absorb, inhale, exhale. The heart is beating. Everything is by itself. Okay, so you say 12 nerves. They go down, descend from the nervous system. Sympathetic, others are sympathetic. There are 12 that are triggering the contraction of muscles in the body, such as the heart, you know, the pancreas, the liver, the stomach, when it is making this kind of contract. In the body, the lungs that are contracting against your will. Others are relaxing. Look at this balance, subhanAllah. You know, the balance. For you to maintain this intuitive state, you have to be really, meaning very smart, but you don't need to be smart, you need to relax, that's all. So, As I said, the challenge is existing inside you. You know, when the Creator asks you to do something, I'm speaking about obligations, prohibitions, and this. He's asking you to do certain things. He did not ask you to do anything that is against your intuition. The intuition is there just to confirm your mind. What do you do as a meso? A meso is between two big things. Speaking about macro and speaking about micro, smallest thing inside you. Your mind as a meso is just to confirm, to direct. The force is there already, just direct it to its right direction. That's all what you have to do. Since we live in a world of very, very complex world, we create curriculums. We create systems, curriculum systems that become systematic, and they leave there our mind in a labyrinth, in a maze, and then we say, why? Every moment I say, I'm looking for a scientific evidence, I want something, to be prescriptive, because of such, and because of such, and therefore, this kind of curriculum or a system, it becomes systematic. Where does it reside? It resides in your own neuron, and you walk there. You cannot, it's a labyrinth, it's a maze. And then I say, why I'm living this kind of like tightness? I created it by myself. Those nerves, as I said. Now, I'm going to touch upon something about, religion, of course. You have in the confession, as we say in Arabic, the confession. In the confession in a Muslim, Islam, you say, the confession, you say, there is no God except God. This is the first part of the confession. And the second one is, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. What does it mean, confession? Confession is like you are hiding something, and then you want, hey, that's the time to be sincere and to divulge this reality. I'm going to confess. I'm going to confess. This is even the same thing, people when they speak about, I converted to Islam. And that's a wrong word, by the way. You can say inverted, and it is even not exactly the word. It is as if you're saying, I'm going from Paris to France. Well, Paris is in France. You understand? So it's the same thing. You are going to your primordial primitive state without borders, without cardinal points, without temporal segments. You are going to your intuition. There is no, that's what it means, submission. Getting back to the confession. The confession in Arabic, La ilaha illallah, is composed of 12 letters. Strange. And when you count it, don't forget when you say it's like, you use the letter Allah is 2 letters, so everybody knows that. Muhammadun Rasulullah is 12 letters. What do you have from La ilaha illallah? This is from where it comes. I'm talking about the nerves that are triggering muscle contraction. The nerves that are, this is La ilaha illallah, that is coming with obligations, prohibitions, and this. When God told you to follow this, to follow these obligations, prohibitions, and this, as I mentioned, the force of attention, the force of abstention, the force of levitation, the force, you contradict that. This is because you are going through obligations anyway. As I said earlier, looking for a challenger. Why don't you use a challenge that is a part of your intuition? You are looking for this challenge. You are subject to this challenge. You are subject to these obligations, prohibitions, whether from the law, a secular law, even though the secular law didn't tell you or interfere what is in your mind, what is in your brain. You are free. All of these obligations, prohibitions that come from the Creator, they are all related to time. Look, you don't have any curriculum in the world. You don't have any kind of system that tells you to be linked to the time, to the ecosystem. You know, in the Eastern philosophy and religion, which is Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism, they speak about it, but they don't speak about it deeply. They scratch the surface. They say, we have a link with the time. Greek philosophers like, the Neoplatonism, they speak about, but it's not related to time in the moment that you have to leave the time to be in the time. About the prayers, for instance. Prayers are related to time. Charity is related to time, is the turn, you turn 1 year, the circle of 1 year. Ramadan is related to time. The pilgrimage is related to time. All of them. What is the time? The time is outside. You enter, or the time is percolating you. That's the word. Percolate, to penetrate. That's very strange. The objective time is outside time. You don't have any control over the objective time. That's outside, January, December. But the subjective time is your presence of mind in the moment. You pray. When you have all these 5 prayers, you leave the time to be in the time. How's that? You leave the temporal time that is controlling you to be in the eternal time, to switch it, to transfer it, to transform it to the eternal. You go to the Creator. It's the same. You are sitting here in your desk, you're working, it's like you live it. This is what I'm saying here about these 5 pillars in Islam. In submission, I prefer to use this word. Now, about, as I said, obligations that come from the Creator, from the first part of the confession, La ilaha illallah. These are the nerves that are triggering the contraction. So, I repeat again, the obligations, these obligations, they are existing there already. They are existing there. In other words, if the time of the prayer comes and you don't do it or neglect it, whatever, your soul is prostrating to God anyway, anyhow, anytime. What you do by your mind is just to confirm to do it. You don't do it, the contraction becomes severe. If you go to the statistics in the world, who is suffering from stress? Non-Muslim countries. I'm not talking about today. Today everything is westernized. Before today, before this modern life that people became influenced by the West, you don't hear people, this kind of stress, you don't hear it at all. I'm talking before, not today. Stress coming from the Western world. Those kind of insomnia is coming from the Western world. Did not have people, they put their head, they go down, that's it, they are sleeping. Because in the faith, they don't challenge the existence. Part of the faith is you believe that the destiny, that God is controlling the world. You're not God. What is good or bad, it's not in the good, it's not a good and evil, a good and bad, it's not in a good and it's not in a bad. It's how you welcomed it, your predisposed nature. If you say, God forbid, something, sickness, whatever, that's okay, God gave it to me. Or poverty, a lack of material world, that's God gave it to me. He doesn't live with the challenge and I'm gonna be better than him. This is in the Western world. The suicidal state rate, you don't hear it in the Muslim world. Today, but go ahead, go through the statistics. You don't hear. I give you those countries, never, but they don't have 5. There's 1. I don't know. She fell in love with someone the day of his wedding with another woman. She couldn't control herself because of love. She loved him, or reciprocity is indeed evident. He committed suicide because he loves her. Well, you don't hear like today is challenging God in everything. Even when it comes to death, I challenge God. So I said, obligations, prohibitions, and this like coming from the nerves, from what? La ilaha illallah, that trigger the muscle contraction. Muhammadun Rasulullah is conceiving with submission. This is the state of servitude, worship, welcoming the lordship. This is how you keep the balance. Worship lordship. If you trespass, you go to the lordship arena, you're gonna be a loser. You are making, hand wrestling the existence. And this is where stress is coming from. You are hand wrestling the existence. Anyway, hopefully we didn't go far. Listen, it's always a pleasure. May the Lord bless you and make your nights as shiny as your days.